Warning: the following podcast contains violent scenes that may be unsettling to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. In 1942, in the cold desert of a small border town in Texas, a group of Cain are kidnapped and mass embraced by members of the fanatical sect, the Sabbat. Out of this group, only a handful survived, and through rituals and mentorship they became the pack known as the Pale Riders. Representing the Sword of Caine, they are wielded by a mentor to cut deep wounds within the heartland of Mexico to the enemies of the Sabbat. Juarez on Fire is a Vampire the Masquerade Sabbat chronicle that follows the Pale Riders pack that consists of Mitch, a Lazambra played by Adam, Coyote, a Ravenos anti-tribute played by Alex, Eldrick, a Caitiff played by David, Jasper, a Bruja anti-tribute played by Joaquin, Cora, a Shemizi played by Slavic, and Richard, a Ventrue anti-tribute played by Tillman. If you'd like to contact us, you can find us on Twitter at twin_cities_VTM or on Facebook at Twin Cities by Night. We hope you enjoy.
After this 2 years of being alone, one evening you see a figure come up to where you're staying, and he just simply quietly tells you to follow. You guys each follow as this figure leads you out of the monastery down the path that you came up those 2 years ago and have since then traveled back and forth, and you eventually come to this clearing that is in the middle of these mountains, but it's like a desert clearing. It's almost like a valley of sort, where the mountains are kind of surround you, and this clear, bright moon is out above, and you can almost see, it's almost like having a spotlight shined upon you. And as you come walking into this clearing and come around the bend, you see that there's this huge bonfire that's like across the clearing, on the other end of the clearing, that's just burning brightly, and you can smell like the smoke of the wood and you can hear it snap and pop. Even though this clearing may be like 300 yards in diameter, the popping and the crackling of the wood echoes throughout this valley like it's amplified louder than it should be. And you see like this plume of smoke that is like rising to the night sky, and in a way kind of like blocks out a little bit of this bright full moon that is like shining down upon it. And you guys are frankly have no idea what you're getting brought down into this valley. And as you are brought down by this figure, and you guys like see each other for the first time as you are walking down this path, even though you're separated, but you kind of for a little bit feel like that connectivity, that the electricity of connection that you felt with your pack members before. And you come walking into this clearing, and you see that there's like about 12 to 15 figures sitting in a circle, and you can't really make out features of them, but you can see that they have like no shirts on, and they're wearing pants, and they're male, and they look to be native in a way, not quite Mexican, but more like Native American or native to the area. And in the middle of this circle of them, you see two figures standing there. Both are wearing jeans and are shirtless. One is Vidar and one is Elenipi, but you have a hard time making out who they are because Elenipi's face is completely painted black, like with black paint, up down to his neck. You can still see rest of his body that has this like light cream color, but his face is lips, nose, everything is painted this dark black paint. And you see his eyes are staring out at you. It almost is like his face is a pool of shadow, and the only two sources of any kind of life are his eyes within it. And next to him, you see Vidar, and his face is completely crimson, as if like he has taken blood or something to that extent, and did the same thing that Elenipi did, but rather than have it be black, it is like this red crimson, and he's staring at you guys too. And as you come, you look and you see that like there's this circle of individuals, and they're like, you look down at them and you realize they're mortal, and they're kind of like looking at the ground, or a couple are looking up at Elenipi and Vidar as they're sitting there or standing there, and they're looking up to him, and you can tell there's like this reverence, this almost like worshipful look and behavior, but you could tell it's almost like their movements are slow, and like the people looking at the ground, you can see like their heads are moving, like they're hearing a beat that no one else can hear, and for a second you're confused, and then you the Ilinipi and Vidar soon walk towards you, and they step over like a couple of the mortals who are like lost, looking at the ground, or who are like one's looking at his hands as if he's confused. And as soon as they break out of that circle, you notice the mortals aren't looking at them as they were, and they're back lost to whatever thoughts they have. And the figures that guided you to U5, two of them are now leaving. So now it's just U5 and Vidar and Ilinipi. And you see Vidar, he tells you that it is time for you to reconnect. You have been alone on your own. And I know sorrow has filled your hearts, but now is the time for us to perform the Valdry. I will give you the Valdry again, but this time it will be deeper. And this time you will walk away unlike you were before. Because for now, what your path has for you in life, you need to be stronger than you are now. And he turns around and he motions towards those figures that are sitting in the circle. Go feed off them, drain them. I will gather you when it is time. And you guys are like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? You're really kind of confused. You have no idea what he's speaking of. Eventually, you guys go feed, ravage these people, do whatever. I would say you probably ravaged them because of like, you know what I mean, what you guys are going through. And out of character, what's going on is these bodies have taken peyote. They have drank like a peyote tea. And so now with you guys having fed off them, guess what? You guys are on a spirit journey at this moment, you know? So we're going to kind of take this, give a little bit, take a little bit. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I just want to kind of tackle different aspects of this trip, you know, that's going on. So Mitch, we'll start with you. As soon as you're fed, you know, like you feed off them and you got this blood all over, you know what I mean, on your hands and on your mouth. And like almost like 5 minutes later, you're looking at your pack and you see like Cora's just like looking up in the moon, and you like try to focus on her face, and you see like her face shimmers for a little bit, and for a second she turns and looks at you, and you see like her face is a skull, like it's looking like the skin and the muscle and the tendons have been ripped off her face, and she's just like turns and looks for you, and the dark eye sockets for a second feel like they're going to swallow your soul, and then she just goes back up and she looks at the mirror, or at the moon. You see Richard slowly like walking off on his own into the desert, and for a second you want to like grasp him and tell him to stop and not to get lost because you're afraid like your pack is going to leave you again. And as you look, like for a second think you're going to say something to him, you look and you see Jasper is slowly like crawling up this incline hill towards the mouth of the cave. And then next thing you know, you snap out of it and you find yourself walking, and you're walking in between, like in this like dry ravine that is within between these two mountains. And as you're looking at your steps and you're looking at this riverbed you're walking in, soon the riverbed gets thinner and you start walking, and it's almost like your steps are pushing you further into the earth. And as you get the sense of like, am I sinking? And you look and you want to kind of grasp, you realize as this riverbed is getting thinner and you're walking deeper into earth that you're inside a trench. And as you look around, you get the sense of panic because you feel like you're in these World War I trenches again. And as you're walking, you feel these hands are grasping your legs and your feet, and they're trying to pull you down. And you look down and you see like Cora's son's face as like your boot just like steps into it. And as for a second, as you realize it's too late that you stepped on his face, you realize it's not cracking and causing it blood, but rather it's sinking. And the face becomes almost like mushrooms and porous, and they dissipate. And then you keep walking. This happens again, and you see like these brethren of yours and these comrade in arms that you fought with, and you go for like a sense of like where you're feel like you're doing them harm, into like in fact that really what you're doing is promoting new life, and you're promoting them to become something new, and that your steps and your path that you are traveling and their memories isn't going to cause you harm anymore, is because you're returning to the earth and the circle of life. Am I making sense by what I'm saying, that like the symbolism behind that?
Yes.
So at this moment, while you're walking, I guess, I would like to imagine that there's like an epiphany in your head where like all this clicks. You know what I mean? Where like where you were taught by Ilinipi about the path of honorable accord and all this. it like sinks in. Is there anything you can add to that, or how you feel like Mitchell, like that moment, the moment where Mitch, it would all click to Mitch and it would all make sense, and you would officially have found a new belief system to follow?
I'm going to embellish a little bit here, so bear with me, please. As he is going through the trenches, Mitch will probably begin to have flashbacks. He will begin to have flashbacks of his time in World War I, and faces of comrades, some that survived, some that lost their lives there, will start coming to him. Cries for help, cries for succor, cries for anything, more ammo in some cases. And he'll realize that the sort of discipline that they had in the battlefields, in many cases knowing that they were marching or running or crawling headlong into their own deaths, be it by bullet, mortar, shell, gas, what have you. The discipline and focus that took, Mitch will realize that provides an order to the world better than simply following one's impulses, better than simply doing what is in your nature to do, but rather taking that and focusing it in a constructive way that allows you to do something greater, be part of something greater. And as he realizes that, slowly those comrades' faces will begin to, quiet down. And at the very end of it, he'll probably see Cora's son lying in the mud, looking at him with the last glimmer of life in his eyes, nodding, understanding, and approval.
I like that a lot. That's awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. And we'll talk about what path you're on, and well, everyone knows, but we'll talk about XP and all that stuff when we're done here with everyone else. Finally comes full circle. All right. So again, and if I want this to be like what just occurred there, where I kind of like have an idea for like a vision, and you guys can either say, oh, I like that, or I like to add or tweak it, or you know what I mean? Some to that extent, you know what I mean? Because I really want this to signify the changes that your character has gone through. So, Jasper, you're like slowly get this like desire that you, I guess, like when I picture Jasper and his or was it oratory speaking skills, and like how he likes to be a public speaker and how he feels like, I don't mean to be sacrilegious at all, but I feel like he almost has that like Messiah complex in a little bit of a way.
A little bit,
when he speaks. And it's like I had this idea of like when you're crawling up this like this slight incline of like a, I don't know, like a side of a mountain, like a little hill on the side of one of these mountains or whatever. Like when you start climbing and your hands are like going into the dirt, you feel like you're almost getting like lifted by like hands that are this hill is made out of. You know what I mean? And soon, like when you are like walking, or you think you're walking, or when you're crawling, eventually these hands are holding you up like they're holding you in reverence, and rather than you walking into this cave, they're kind of like almost like you're crowd surfing in a way, and they're like gently guiding you into this cave where soon you find yourself on your knees and you're like looking, and you see like a couple like whether the stalagmites or whatever that are hanging down, or you kind of like looking to where like maybe this is where a mountain lion stood at one moment, and you're looking on and you're trying to like grasp where you're at, and slowly when you start turning, you see figures that are surrounding you, and there are these like perfect like Nordic Aryan men, like chiseled, Germanic features and blonde hair and like blue eyes, and they're just staring at you, and they're naked, but their nakedness isn't important at this moment. It's not like what's sticking out to you. It's just that these are the fine specimens of mortals, you know what I mean, of human beings that you felt at one time in your life was what you wanted to attain for, and what your goal, right, was to make sure that this was the perfect man. And as you're staring at them, and you feel this sense of like pride for a second, because like this is what you wanted to be surrounded at one point in your life. And as you look around at these figures, you start seeing, like you do one turnaround, and then when you come back and you look around, you start seeing their faces are melting off. And soon the faces of these like Nordic men are becoming the faces of every single mortal that you have seen killed, and every single Cainite that you have seen killed since you've been brought over, you know? And it's just like, I don't know what feelings is with dredge up in Jasper at this moment, but there just comes this point where like you're looking and I would say almost like, and you can correct me once I'm done, but I would almost say like he has an epiphany of sort that like he is serving a greater good than he served before in his mortal life, you know, where once it was just for the Nordic race and you know what I mean, for eugenics and all that shit, to where now it's like it's serving a purpose. And there's a point where you finally do a final rotation where you're just turning and looking and you see that all their faces have Wyatt's face. I mean, they're these perfect Nordic bodies, but it's just this blank face of Wyatt. You know what I mean? That is standing there, staring back at you. What do you think about that? Do you have anything to add to that? Like what feelings would this dredge up in him?
So definitely, as he sees like the faces metamorphosize, he's like, at first he is somewhat tinged, but because he is somewhat it feels conflicted about draining Wyatt. So at the time when he did it, it was a moment of weakness, because he was hungry and he wanted to feed, and so he gave in to his beast, and so he. But then, like after he took his soul, he realized it was so much more than just feeding off like a human, and so he sees that it's almost like it's like a weird mixture of regret and almost like of what's the word like it's significant to him. So he's like, it's almost like this is like a marker of something is important in his life. He has to remember this thing, this person, and so he's almost sees why it's sort of like a I have changed, and so now I have to move on from what I was. I'm not just what I was originally. Now I am more than that.
Yeah, because I would say like Wyatt is like a reminder of what the real threat is, right? Like Wyatt, while he wasn't completely corrupted, Wyatt lost his way and became a victim of yours because of the greater threat of infernalism. You know what I mean? And that also now you're realizing that Nordic dream and the big picture scheme of the world isn't the perfect evolution. And almost in a way what you are now and what you're becoming, you know what I mean? And you have a perfect case example, right, of it going wrong and someone not reaching their potential, and that's Wyatt. And now what your greater purpose is and what you have become. Does that make sense? Because I can almost like see, and you've mentioned it before, and the reason I'm saying this when I see this by what you have said before is that, especially that you what was that line, man, someone brought it up who watched or listened to that last session where like what you said when you were walking to the village, you know what I mean? I am chosen, I have a cause now, you know what I mean? And like this is a reminder of what the cause is, that the masses now are dependent upon you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and so I suppose like in the vision, Jasper was sort of like, he would like sort of like move past the circle and say, "Follow me," and sort of like try to lead them further up.
I love that. That the fact that a dude who's tripping balls on peyote thinks he has like an army of people following him as he's like going on this rest of the night, like walking through these mountains and everything like that. And I would even say, like Mitch, at one point, you're like, when you have some kind of clarity, you look up and you see like Jasper. Like, what's Jasper walking like when he tells him to follow? When he's like walking through the desert, is his like hands out wide, or is he just like walking with more gusto? Yeah,
just.
You can even hear him, Mitch, like Jasper be like, "Follow me." And when you hear that from him, like you're like sitting there looking at this riverbed, Mitch, and you look up and you just see like on top of this mountain, you see like Jasper's hands are like wide out, and you see like the moon is like silhouetting him, and you just hear like this roar, this inhumane roar come from him, where he's like, you know what I mean? Like, "Follow me." And for a second while you're looking, you're like, who's he talking to? And then you see these weird, odd shadows that are behind him in the desert. You know what I mean? And it looks like a mass of people. And you're like shaking your head and you're trying to like make sense of up and down and left and right. So very good. Cora, you are for a second like staring up at the moon, like I said, that like Mitch had saw when he first started. You know what I mean? And there's a moment, because, you know, you have this odd connection to the moon, you know what I mean? There's this moment where like the moon starts like taking the shape of like maybe like a dried corpse or a skull's face. And you look and you have this connection where you see like within Mitch, you know what I mean? And you can see like almost like you have this connectivity with Mitch. What would you? Let me before I continue on, because I really should ask you what Cora would think at this moment when she's like seeing death personified in the moon, and that's not what your trip's going to be. I got something, you know what I mean, else in store for that. And you turn and you look at Mitch right when it's starting to kick in. Like, what would be going on in Cora's mind at that moment?
I guess, Mitch and Cora have a very, very complicated relationship in that they've bonded very strongly, but she always sort of held him responsible for her son's death. But now that she lost the humanity and everything, and she's still like, she understands that she hates him. It's a similar thing, but she doesn't understand why. But she does understand that, Mitch has helped her, and so she understands why she sort of likes him or considers him a very good friend. So, what would she see in Mitch? She would see a warrior, but like a very tragic one, I suppose, almost. In that, he used to beat himself up over a lot of things, and just maybe, all this loss or this whole change in mentality that she underwent would allow her to, I guess, in a sense, forgive him in that instant.
Oh, there's this perfect moment of forgiveness that happens at that moment when like it all like sinks in. You're saying like you've forgiven him for like everything. Oh, that's awesome, dude. I like to hear that. I didn't figure that, so I'm glad I asked you. I just didn't assume you see fairies dancing around behind his head. No, I'm joking. So at that moment when you have forgiven him, and I don't know if any of you guys have forgiven anyone in your life or whatever, and that's a personal question, but it's like this huge sense of relief, you know what I mean? And that you feel that, Cora, and you feel at that moment when you forgave him, like an anchor was taken off your shoulders. And at this moment that you can walk around the corner. You know what I mean? At this moment that like that you are now, you will be able to see what you want to see. And you like turn around and you look for a second and you just start walking. And you are walking to like the side of one of the mountains, but you're just walking along it. And at this moment, as you're walking along the mountain, like the mountains on your left, and you're looking to the clearing on the right, you're seeing like these figures staring back at you. You know what I mean? And they're figures of like mourning, and they're figures of sadness, and you try to like play. They don't seem to have any distinguished clothing that marks them at a time. But as you're just walking by them, they're within like a foot of you, and you're even like reaching out your hand, and you're kind of like touching the side of their face, or you're just like touching, like, you know what I mean, putting your hand along their chest. And you as you're walking more around this valley, you see that you're seeing more of them. You know what I mean? And the crowd, like, it seems to start being a crowd of them. And they don't seem to cause you harm because they seem to be looking at you with as much curiosity as you are looking at them. There comes a moment where you're like, start feeling this sense of like Cora-ness. You know what I mean? Like the sense of like machismo that Cora has always had. If it was shooting that Sedite, you know what I mean, with the rifle, or if it was just like not giving a shit and doing the Valkyrie and just like being ready to kick ass and take names. You see like a moment, the crowd parts, and you see like these figures step aside, and you see the figure of your son as he was in his uniform, and the figure comes walking towards you. And at this moment, as he's walking towards you, he's like, age is going down to where like he goes from like 19 to like 16 to like 14 to like 13 to like 8. And then when he's within like 2 feet of you and you're looking down at him, he's looking up at you, and he's like this 3-year-old boy where you knew at this moment that like this was going to be the good one. You know how you said your other kids were like dirt bags and like they didn't give a shit about you, but you had that one good kid that didn't have any of their father's DNA. And this is a moment, and you look down at him, and he looks up at you and he smiles. And for a second, he reaches out his hand like he wants you to hold it. And when you grab the hand, he walks for you. He like tugs you a little bit to be in the middle of this mass of, I guess, spirits, you know what I mean, of out of character wraiths. And you feel them like for a second as they put gentle hands on your shoulder as you walk by. And as you're getting pulled into the middle, you start realizing that your son's hand is losing its I guess it's not solid anymore. and soon your hand starts going through his, and you feel this little sense of like no, I don't want it to dissipate. But he turns and he looks at you and he smiles, and then his hand goes through yours and he walks off into the crowd, and you can't see him anymore. But you turn around, you look, and you feel all these spirits, and you feel them around you. Do you have anything to add at this moment during this?
Well, I think Cora would be very confused because she understood why she held his hand and everything about that. But afterwards, she doesn't understand like deeper emotional reason for it.
Yeah, definitely. And out of character, what he was doing was trying to like help you turn that corner. You know what I mean? But you don't get it yet, and that's going to lead to your thirst, I guess, of knowledge, right? Of like wanting to explore the path more. You know what I mean? And to learn it. Like he was the one who just kind of like it was like, and this could be your subconscious. You don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was really him or whatnot, but it's the fact that like that last remnant that was slipping away tugged you a little bit before it finally slipped away completely onto the path that you need to be on, you know? So, all right, final one, Mr. Richard. So Richard, when this kicks in, your intensity, I try to think of a tactful way to say how you've been handling things, like blowing the blood, you know what I mean, is like really magnified. And you almost forget about the pack for a second, and you're just like feel this draw to like climb up this mountain and go into like the highest reaches of this one mountain you see. And it's almost like with your aspects and your heightened senses, you look and you see like this cave opening, you know, and you like pump this blood into you, you know, like you're maxed out, and you're just like you're just like you're potent, your fingers are just like crashing into the side of this mountain, and you're just like making your own grips as you're just like and Cora, you actually see this for a second, right? Like you're looking at this swarm of like wraiths around you, and you're looking around, and you see Jasper like with his arms out, you know what I mean, like screaming, and you see like Mitch is just like on his knees in this river bend, and you look and you just see like Jasper just like it's almost moving like as quick as like a bug would move sometimes going up something, and for a second you're like, oh, you know, like just kind of lost and seeing him rapidly go up this mountain. As you get to this ledge, Richard, you like look around, you turn and you look, and you see before you just like this clearing, you know what I mean? And you like breathe, and you feel like you smell, and just your heightened senses are kicking in. You turn and you look into this cave, and you feel this cave is like has this beckoning. It's like pulling you and dragging you in. As you turn and as you walk into this cave, you see at first it's dark, and you're trying to use your heightened senses. You're seeing these tracers for a second. You can't like, you move your hand in the dark, and you can kind of like see it for a little bit, but you can't like quite focus on your hand. And you're trying to like move forward, and you're trying to feel, and you're like one of your hands you're putting on the side of this cave entrance just so you can feel along. And it feels like you're walking for an eternity, and you start feeling this panic because you're worried that like this blood that you pumped up in these stats is just going to go away. And you're worried because you're like, fuck, am I going to be left here alone? Am I going to be left weak? I can't do anything if I'm weak. I can't find myself if I'm lost. And it's almost like you're about to borderline to like a bad trip. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, as you're like looking, and you're at that moment where you're about to panic, you see color, and you feel like light coming from above, and you look up and you see like stars are like coming through this top of this cave, and you see like this almost like this vortex of cosmic dust. And these are terms that you have like no idea what they are, you know. Cosmic dust is just like spinning. You see these bright lights are coming from within it, and the stars are shining, and you're like, as you're looking up, you're like shaking like in reverence, because it's like almost like seeing the eyes of God as you're standing here viewing it. And there comes this moment as you're like so enraptured into it, and you're so seeing it, that like you see like these black wings all of a sudden span out from like the single speck within this cosmic space of purple and bright starlight that you see, and you start seeing the solidified form that is of one of the visions that you had after you diabolized Reginald. And at this moment, you feel like this anger come up upon you, and you know, like you said, you feel like this empowered, and you fucking leap towards it. And as you like leap up towards it, and it comes down on you, you crash into it. And at that very moment you crash into it, just dust, just it just turns into like this dust and ash, and you fall on the ground, and you feel like falling around you like snow. And at this moment, you're like, what the fuck? And you're trying to like catch it, and you look up and you see still that this swirling mass of cosmic colors is still above you. And you feel like at this moment, you hear like Ilanipi's voice, and he's speaking to you, and it's in a language that you don't understand, but you understand it though when you hear it, and it's like, this is why we are chosen. This is why we do what we do. And you're scared for a second because you thought you're alone, and you turn around and you look, and you just see this figure along the wall, and the cosmic swirl is shining light upon him, and all you can make out is just his black face, his neck, and just like the upper part of his chest. And he's like, my child, this is why we do what we do. This is why. So tell me at this moment, like, is there anything you wish to add to this, or how is Richard feeling during all this? Or yeah, the stage is yours right at the moment.
I'm not sure if I want to add anything, but Richard is definitely mad with confusion. He feels he feels a bit powerless, and probably like just takes it all in, but doesn't really know what to do anymore. Like his like the initial excitement to climb up this mountain, like it all comes crashing down.
Yeah, definitely. What I was trying to go for that with there was to signify that there was a fight to be fought. You know what I mean? And like there was that there is something greater than your mind can perceive, but it doesn't mean that it is invincible. You know what I mean? And the fact that you can fight it and you can combat it, you can climb the highest of mountains and accomplish these huge feats with the power that you're given, and that there's a reason why on top of this mountain, where many religious figures and many religions have always seemed to learn something on top of a mountain. You know what I mean? When they climb that mountain, they have gotten there, they have found like some truth, and this is desperately, and your sire is there with you. You know what I mean? Your sire is with you there to guide you through there. Like he wants you to realize that there is a fight to be fought. You know what I mean? And that you are supposed to fight this fight. But it very well could be, though, that Richard Richard may pay its service, and the very first seeds of that understanding may be embedded in his head, he's still very much a weak person who is full of doubt, that derangement, you know what I mean, bulimia. But he has finally like kind of figured out that there's a reason for this fight. Am I making sense with that?
Yeah, I believe he's definitely willing to follow Ilanipi because he's reaching out for him. He's helping him.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so all you guys have these visions, and we'll just say the rest of the night you're like walking across this area, trying to, you know what I mean, in a reflection. And there comes a moment where like 4 or 5 hours later, you guys are having like you're starting to come down. You know what I mean? And like the hypersensitivity that you guys have to everything in life around you just starts like gently wearing off. And as you find yourself, as this is wearing off, you're making your way back to the clearing. And as you're making your way back to the clearing, you see these dead bodies of like these 12 to 15 people you just ravaged. And you see you look and you see that now Ilanipi and Vidar their faces are still painted, but they're like in these white robes that you recognize them being when you guys did the Valdery again. And there's this huge bonfire that's behind Ilanipi and Vidar while this is going on. But this time is a little bit more intimate. We're not going to make you roll or anything like that. We're just going to say your scores are the same. But basically, there's like this stone bowl that's like about a foot in diameter that's like on the ground. And both Ilanipi and Vidar are sitting there, and they have you guys, you know what I mean, slit your wrist with this ceremonial knife, put it in there. You guys drink of it. You have your Valdery scores as normal. And you have about 3 hours of nighttime back, and they walk back with you, and soon you find yourself in the monastery. And Ilanipi or Vidar says that the next evening he wants to speak to you all. And the next evening comes around, and you guys are outside of this monastery, and Vidar brings up this letter that Mitch had found. And he explains to you at this time that the Inquisition is more than simply fighting with brute strength, and is more than more than destroying your enemies, and that oftentimes it takes rooting them out, like he had to root out Ricardo and that he wants you to travel north, the pack, and to embed yourself into a crusade, which will be going on to these twin cities in the north that Mitch had read in the letter, and I assume Mitch told you guys about, and that you're going to act like you're a delegate from Mexico to represent Mexico's interests in this crusade, where most of these people are coming from Montreal area, and that they want you to find what infernal motivations some may have during this crusade and to root them out and destroy them. And he explains to you that you guys will be on your own in this one, that he will not be there, that Elenipi will not be there, that it is on you all to go there and decide judgment, because it is on you to pass judgment to those who are the enemies of the Sword of Caine internally. Basically, in a nutshell, you guys in the next story arc are getting sent to the Twin Cities in 1945 to quote, lack of a better term, go undercover to root out this infernalist movement that might be within the crusade. The crusade very well could be legitimate, but there are some in there who have some kind of infernal reasoning behind it. So, all right, let's not.
Hey, and if we punch a few camera faces, that's okay.
It's okay, because they're slaves of the antediluvian, right? You know what I mean? So it's like a win-win, You get to kill some infernalists, get to kill some Camarilla vampires, like fucking everyone goes home happy, you know what I mean? But that's awesome. All right, so we're going to talk about spending XP. I'm not going to just break down what you spent your XP on, the reasoning behind it, all that jazz. We will go with we'll go with Mitch first, since Mitch, I'm going left to right this whole time.
All right. I've got it written down here first. So starting with 40 XP, first thing he's going to pull his conscience, I guess, since that's what Honorable Accord has, up to 2 for 2 XP. I'm going to bring Path Rating up to 4, which is going to cost 6 XP, or 12 XP, sorry. So that'll put him at Honorable Accord 4. I'm going to drop 8 XP into buying Dexterity 3. He did quite a bit of moving over the course of the chronicle. He's going to drop 4 XP into buying Athletics 3. Again, moving, getting around, doing stuff. 6 XP into getting Stealth 3. Fair bit of sneaking around, trying to keep quiet. I'm going to drop 5 XP into Investigation 2. From sneaking around the towns, trying to pick up on clues and details. He'll get a little bit better on that. Put 2 XP into Dodge, bringing that up to 2. And that leaves him with 1 XP remaining, which can't be spent on anything.
Just gotta save it. So that's cool. I like that. I like how you spend it more on skills and virtues rather than disciplines, huh? That's pretty cool, man. So
yeah,
you're like
a single discipline.
Oh, good stuff. All right. So Mr. Jasper, enlighten us on how the enlightened Mr. Jasper will spend his 40 XP.
All right, so I broke down. I think I'm going to put 10 into the path, which should put me at 4. I think 4 dots in the path of Honorable Accord. Is that right?
I think that's 12. It'll cost 12. Am I? That's what you got to spend, Mitch, right?
Yeah, it's 12.
Yeah, it's
12.
12, I think.
6.
I miscounted. It is 12. And so I'm actually going to go for my disciplines, because I'm going to give myself another dot in both potence and celerity, which should be 5 each, because it's 5 to what you have already.
Okay. So that's 22. So you still have 18.
And then I'm going to put, let's see, that about 3 into performance, because I remember the last couple of times I tried to do presence.
Yeah, presence. Yeah. Yep.
So that's 3 dots. So I think that's 8 points. So that's 2.
2 times the current rating, right?
Yeah.
So what's your current rating?
Before I spent it, I had 0.
Oh, so it's for a new skill, I think it's 2, right? And then 2, and then we'll say
So
8.
it's 3 for a new skill, but
3. Okay, so
9?
3, 9. Yeah, 9 then. Yep, 9.
9 for skill. Okay. That leaves me with 9, I think, still. 9 more. And I looked around, and I think I'm going to put. Let's see, what else can I put in? Okay, then I think I'll go for another. Can I go? I remember we got animalism, but I went Diablerized Wyatt. Can I put another dot into animalism for give me up to 2?
Well, you have the potential to learn animalism, so
Okay.
you can spend on the first dot, which learning a new discipline, out of clan discipline is 7, right? 7 XP. So
I think out of clan it's 13. In clan it's 7, I think.
No, in clan it's 5.
Yeah, so 7. Yeah, you can get a dot in
Yeah.
animalism and have 2 XP left over, and
Yeah,
you can
I'll do
choose
that.
to hold on to it or spend it on if you have like a your call.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Put 7 into animalism and then just have 2 left over.
All right, awesome. Not only will he give speeches to people, he'll give speeches to dogs now too. So, all right. What about you? What about you, Slavic?
Yeah. So first off, I'll be getting 3 dots in my path. That costs me 6 XP. Then I'll be getting the first level of necromancy, which costs 10 XP. And I just had the ritual that I picked out here. Just give me a second to find it again.
Yeah, while he looks, just
I already have it.
No. Well, I just want to tell Jasper it costs 10 XP for animalism, but
so
I'll
take
I'll give
one
it
dot away from performance and put it. That should leave me like 2 left over.
Okay, I was just gonna give you a dot. I mean, give you a point of XP, man. But you can do that if you want, or I'll just loan you one, and you can pay me back at the end of the next arc.
Yeah.
So
Just take 1 dot off, just 1 dot off the sheet. That's it.
all right, cool. All right, go ahead, Slavic. I'm sorry. Yeah, no worries. Go ahead.
So I'll give the Call of the Hungry Dead ritual, which allows me to hear snatches of conversation from across the shroud.
Nice. And what about? And you got the first dot in the sepulchre path or whatever they call it, right?
Sepulchre, I think.
Sepulchre path. Yeah. Have fun with that one. All right.
Then I will spend 4 experience to up my intelligence a point. So now I have 2 points in intelligence because, of all the studying and stuff that Cora had to do. Probably for the first time in her life, actually. Then, I'm picking up Vicissitude 4 for 15 XP.
Oh shit! But I don't even want to know what that is until we play this game again. I don't even want to think about it right now.
It gives me it's the Zulo form.
Oh my god!
It's the +3 strength, dex, and stamina.
Yeah, and a full moon. I feel sorry for those people out there in the. And then she's gonna be around snow for the first time. You know what I mean? Like, she's not gonna be a happy person. So
yeah, and then I think for this leaves me at 35 points, and then I wanted to up my conviction by 1 point for 4 XP from 2 to 3.
All right, sweet. And you're just gonna hold on to that last XP point?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. What about you, Mr. Richard? Break it on down.
So I just realized I miscalculated when I spent my XP. It's not too bad, but I will be left with 3 dots and I don't know what to do. 3 points and I don't know what to do with them yet. Anyway, I've put 12 into Path, so I'm now at level 4. I picked up Dominate 2. Which I thought would cost 7 points, but it only costs 5. I've put 15 points into abilities, all into talents, and I picked up some of the talents that I didn't put any dots into previously. And those are Athletics, Brawl, and Dodge. I had no points in them before, and somehow got by. I've put 5 points into willpower to buy another dot, so now I have a maximum willpower of 6. And yeah, I think that's it already. So I have 3 dots left. I could, I think, buy another ability, a new one, but I don't know which one. So I'm just going to keep that for now, I think.
raise your drive up. No, I'm just playing. So you can have a high-speed chase in 1945.
Firearms?
Firearms, yeah.
I can't raise firearms. I already have firearms too.
Well, you can always hold on to it, and if you think of something later, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, some options would be expression, streetwise, stuff, survival.
I think I also got 3 points left over too. So hey, we got extra.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I'm just gonna hold on to it. I don't know what to do right now.
All right, that's cool. Awesome, man. I think this is wrapped up. Now, do any of you guys have any questions about the story or anything like that have been on your mind before we officially end Wars on Fire or anything to that extent? Or I mean, you guys could probably ask me on the side, so probably no point in asking it in here. But yeah, man, holy cow, this is it. I guess this is the unofficial 12th session because we had a character creation session. And how funny is it in the character creation session, Alex couldn't make it, and then I had to do a second one for Alex, which I'm gonna have to do for this. So,
It's poetic.
It's poetic.
Yeah.
It's a full circle, you know. So thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate it and listening.
High Level Games, the industry's first choice in taking your games to the next level. We are a podcast blog and new media network at highlevelgames.ca. We have blog posts about all of your favorite games going up 5 days a week, and a podcasting network with actual plays and shows that discuss role-playing games, with more rolling out all the time. We are on iTunes, Twitch, and YouTube. Find out more information at highlevelgames.ca, a site that certainly isn't controlled by a shadowy board of directors of otherworldly origin. That's highlevelgames.ca.
Please, help. They're coming.
Hey, do you like World of Darkness? Do you want to introduce your friends to it? But there's one problem. Nobody reads books anymore. This presents you with a problem, doesn't it? You want to get your friends into these awesome games, but they don't have the time or wherewithal to read any of them. Well, that's where Brett the Hitman comes in. Brett the Hitman, your one-stop shop on YouTube for all things related to World of Darkness. Currently in the middle of his Werewolf the Apocalypse series, which is showing tremendous growth. It's going to the moon! That's right, watch Brett the Hitman and you will get style, flair, humor, and of course some dank meme magic. Fucking normies! Brett the Hitman on YouTube at youtube.com/I love other people's misery. So watch now! If only for the dank memes. Tune in today!
The Los Angeles metropolitan area is constantly growing and changing. The Central District is full of new buildings. The Hollywood and Wilshire districts, once far from downtown, now are part of which spreads past Beverly Hills and out to the ocean. But why is all this going on in Los Angeles? Why is Los Angeles an exploding city?
Neon Masquerade.
The Demon's Mirror.
13 Candles. 3 chronicles running through the undead veins of the City of Angels.
The Esoteric Order of Roleplayers Actual Play podcast invites you to drink deeply.
Go to eorpodcast.com and search the Duets tag to find out more.
Hi guys, I wanted to let you know about my YouTube channel, the video journals of Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey is a character I play in a live-action vampire game called New England Nightmares, which uses the new By Night Studio rules for Mind's Eye Theatre. The chronicle's set in the city of New Haven, Connecticut, and we run on the third Saturday of every month in Southington, Connecticut. Most of the credit for the stories told in my journals comes from the plots developed by the amazing storytellers who run my game. So the videos on my channel are basically an in-character video logs of the newly sired Ventrue Mike Bailey. They follow him from his days as a naive mortal to his violent embrace during the Anarch Revolt in the City of London and on to his arrival in the shores of New Haven. The journals show Mike trying to come to terms with his kindred nature, his powerful but impure blood, and his attempts to hide his past from other members of the court of Prince Lucius. So I put out updates every 2 weeks, and I love feedback and questions, so check out my channel, subscribe, and leave me a comment.